sure a lot of you watching this video have struggled with career anxiety at some point, especially with entering an art career. You never know if taking that leap of faith is gonna be worth it. And today, that's why I'm here to let you in on some things that most professional artists wouldn't always talk to you about, which is every single art career they've ever had in their life. And for me, today I'm gonna start with all of the internships I've ever had as an artist. So if you want to see more content like this one, please let me know down in the comments below, especially if you want to see a part 2 where I will dive more into my full-time jobs, because there's just too many for me to fully go over, but I feel like internships are a great place to start. But still, to this day, a lot of people find art jobs to be very mysterious and entering the unknown, so let's break down some of those unknowns or those myths so that we can be transparent with what types of jobs are out there. So later on in this video, I have a secret tip as to how I broke into one of these jobs, so stick to the end to watch how I was able to do this somehow, some magical way, because it was at a pretty notable big studio. So starting off with the first job I ever really had as an artist was just doing commissions on DeviantArt using PayPal, which I'm pretty sure all of us have kind of done before. So really there's not much to note about this other than this was my spark of making money as an artist. This was the first time I realized that what I could do with my hand can translate to income. And as a high schooler, I wasn't really still aware of what money can do for you. I just know that it could provide a living. But at the same time, it was just like, okay, great, I have some extra cash. So that was really all there was to it. But moving on to the next one. My second actual job as an artist was a print design intern at Donna Karan, New York, which is this fashion company. So while DKNY was not my ideal job, I knew I just had to get my foot in the door and just practice putting my art into some professional workplace so that I could at least just gain some experience. I always feel like there's gonna be super pretentious and superficial people everywhere in the world, no matter what industry, but there was just something about the fashion industry that kind of hit me a little bit different. Like this one time I was standing in the elevator, and of course I'm just like
an 18 or 17-year-old girl wearing clothing from Forever 21 at this time.
And someone who was a higher up at the company was standing with me in the elevator, and they just were looking at me and they were just like,
"Oh, I don't like the stitching on your clothing, but I like the stitching on that lady's clothing."
Who's like an older woman like standing next to me. So I don't really know what to think of that, or if this is just something that is normal in the fashion industry. But for me at that time, when I'm already super insecure about myself, I'm just like,
thanks.
But anyway, for DKNY, I interned there for 2 summers in a row. So the first year I was kind of responsible for just picking up or researching little designs from different thrifting stores. I would take photos of different print designs and kind of bring them back and kind of draw up my own versions of prints, in which at the end of the day, I'm not really sure any of them were really used except for maybe like one of them, but that one was kind of done in conjunction with my supervisor, and some of them would end up on some clothes. So moving on to the next one, which is Cartoon Network. This is my actual first animation internship ever during my second year of Cal Arts. However, I did not have any job responsibilities that included drawing, storyboarding. The only drawing we ever did was doing a pitch by the end of the internship of our own show idea, product idea, which was cool, and it was very nerve-wracking because you had to prepare this and like really stand in front of everyone and present for the first time ever. So while that was one of the cool parts of the internship to me, the rest of it was pretty much just kind of like, you know, handing people their time cards, doing production stuff like organizing the voiceover papers for the voice actors, and sometimes going around and seeing what each artist needs. This is kind of more of an experience to get your foot in the door and just see what it's like working in an animation studio without fully being responsible for any of the artwork itself. I will also say the biggest mistake I think I made at Cartoon Network was not socializing or making friends with everyone. I always kind of just locked myself in my own apartment because I was just too nervous and insecure and just kind of thinking about what everyone was thinking about how shitty of an artist I am, when literally none of that was true. So one little secret about how I got this internship at Cartoon Network was actually from my previous internships at DKNY. I remembered when I was at my interview, the person I was interviewing with kept commenting about how I worked at DKNY, and while it was not animation related, they still really liked hearing that I was contributing to a team somehow with my experience as an artist, even if it it wasn't animation. What I learned is that you do not need an animation or art specific job always for your first internship interview or on your resume. A lot of people tend to leave these things out because it's not relevant. Include that experience because you never know if it's going to open up a conversation that will make you look good to the person that's interviewing you for that job. The key is being authentic to your past and to your life. So in my third year of CalArts, I worked at the studio called Buddha Jones as a freelancer, and it actually was not an internship. I was actually a full-time freelancer at this studio where I would just go in for like literally 8 hours out of the day and get paid a full-time rate. Like I was getting paid here more than I would at an internship. So I was being paid good money. It was just that the job really didn't align with what I wanted to do because I wanted to work in animation. But at Buddha Jones, I was kind of working on supplemental media. So we would be working on like trailers for games, trailers for movies, or maybe even like posters for conventions like San Diego Comic-Con, the World of Warcraft, and Ocean's 8 or something. Like I worked on like stuff that surrounded that film, but not on the film itself. So it was kind of not my favorite place just because it was in a very sketchy part of Hollywood, and also sometimes like you would be rotating to different studios and offices all the time. So I never stayed in one place and it got a little bit exhausting for me. So I kind of freelanced at this job just thinking that, you know, my job could end any day now. It could end tomorrow. I don't know. They could just drop me at any second, and it wasn't the most assuring experience. So during this time, I was still applying to other animation internships out there and see if I could land on something. And I was kind of losing hope at this point because it was already June. A lot of internships already took who they accepted. And I was like, you know, at this point, what are the chances I would even get accepted? And that was when finally I was reached out to by Walt Disney Animation Studios. So fun fact, before I even started at Buddha Jones, I already got rejected from Disney because I applied to their story internship. So I kind of just went on to Buddha Jones thinking I'm not gonna be at Disney. So it was very weird for me to suddenly receive an email from them saying,
Hey Michelle, I know we rejected you for the story internship, but we do have a 2D animation internship available that just opened up.
because they realized that for their internship project of that year, they wanted to do a hybrid film of 2D animation and 3D animation. So they thought that I would be the perfect fit based on my work. This is where the real secret comes in. So most people think that when you apply to internships or any animation art job out there, you gotta put your best foot in the door, you gotta put in your best work. But the real thing that got me into this internship was my how to do your makeup 1 week student film. So in CalArts, there's this little project we do called 1 week films, where when you start your school year, you just have to complete a film within 1 week. So it kind of tests your abilities and capabilities of what you can do within 1 week. I made a video called How to Do Your Makeup, and it was just basically a makeup tutorial of me just animating myself, putting on my makeup, and just being really sassy about it. They actually told me like,
Hey, when we were looking through portfolios, we saw this video from you. I was laughing so hard I had to shut the door in my office, and this is the video that made us think that you're the one because you have a voice, you have a personality.
and this was said by like not just the recruiter, but like other people, like the mentors who were guiding this internship as well. So I was just kind of surprised because this is kind of just a video I just made like straight out of my ass. I did not think too deeply about it. I was just like, this was my 1 week film at CalArts, what the hell? So it's kind of like the same sentiment as how when you post a doodle online, but somehow that captures more engagement because it probably has more of your personality and who you are versus this super polished piece of work. So the key is, again, to be authentic to who you are. So then the last internship I ever had was in my 4th year of CalArts. I worked at DreamWorks as a character art intern. So it was kind of similar to the Buddha Jones thing, except instead of live action films, I was actually helping create supplemental media art for, you know, films like How to Train Your Dragon, Trolls, and just other legacy DreamWorks projects. And I had a really good time actually. It was kind of nice to have an excuse to not really go to class and just work and make money. So I had a great experience at this internship and became friends with all the other people I worked with there. And I left with the impression that if they had a full-time job offer, I would get it. And you know, by the end of my internship there, they actually reached out to me and they're like,
like, hey, we opened up a new full-time position. We would love for you to apply to it. We loved you. We loved your work. And we think that you will honestly get it. And
they were really tooting my horn for me and just really encouraging me to think that I would get this job once they were done interviewing everyone, only for me to eventually get rejected because they ended up needing to look for somebody who was more experienced and they needed someone more urgently who could take on responsibility like at the drop of the hat. So I was also just like, there's no way that I'm not getting this internship, but you know, I didn't get it. And to be honest, it was fine because if I took on that job, I wouldn't be where I am today, and I still love and respect the people that I worked with there. And now that I've kind of worked at various jobs myself, I'm just like, don't take things too personally. It's not about you, it's sometimes about what the company needs. Maybe they sometimes know you're better off somewhere else and they don't want to hold you back by giving you this opportunity to stay comfortable in. There are going to be moments where you're going to feel like you're going to be on top of the world, you're going to get the internship or job of your dreams only for it to eventually end and hope that it continues in that linear trajectory. But the truth is that it's probably not always going to stay that way. I'll talk about this one more in my next video, but I worked as an assistant director at an animation studio only to go back to being a storyboard artist in the next job. And while it was kind of one thing that, you know, I hoped would continue to go up in a linear direction, I eventually learned that maybe the corporate ladder is also not my cup of tea. So if you want to see a part 2 for me explaining this part of my full-time art career journey, let me know down in the comments below. But in the meantime, if you want to know what other art career options there are out there for you, you can watch this video, 15 art career options. Or if you just want to take that entrepreneurial path and figure out ways to make your own money, there's also 15 different ways you can make money as an artist. So check out these 2 videos and see maybe which one is the direction that you'd like to try next. Anyway, thank you for watching this video and I will see you all in the next one.